Hi, everybody. Rick DiClemente with Star Self and Astrology Unplugged. Tonight, we're going to be talking about one of your favorite subjects, which is called solar returns. So it's something I don't talk about very much. I've never covered it, and this is week 318. So I'll be glad to talk about that. This is, if you're not used to being with us, this is episode number 318. We've been on for a long time, and sometimes we talk about basic astrology, sometimes intermediate astrology, sometimes advanced. One topic I just never thought of covering before, and it's a real favorite of people because it's so accurate, is solar returns. So we're going to talk about them tonight. And I'm not going to be able to promise everybody that I'm going to do everybody's chart. That's not why I'm here. It puts too much pressure on me, and I cannot do it. And I've got a list of people in order that they arrived, and I'm going to go down that list, and we're going to do what we can. But it's more important for me that you learn about solar returns than it is for me to give everybody a reading. That's just how I am. And forgive me for it, but that's just how it is because I just can't do it otherwise. Now, a solar return. It's nice to have you all with me. Welcome from YouTube. A solar return is a chart of your birthday. So every year, picture here is the Earth, and you're looking through the sun, and the day you're born, the Earth lines up with a particular star out there. We're not looking for the same date. We're not looking for time or date. We're looking for the sun and the Earth to be in the same position. Then we do a Polaroid snapshot of where all the planets are on that birthday, and that chart is your solar return. The sun has returned. It looks like the sun's moving, of course, in Western astrology. The sun has returned to the same spot, and that chart is an entity, and it represents your next year, and it's really, really accurate. And if you know me at all, I don't like to do predictive work for many reasons, but solar arcs are pretty much predictive. So they do kind of predict your following year, especially in the major sense. It may not get all the details right, but in terms of what you're really into, what you feel like you're going to do for that year, it's really amazingly accurate. So hopefully tonight you'll see enough. Excuse me, that you'll be able to get an idea of how they work. So picture this. You're sitting there, and it's 1950, whatever it is, when you were born. And somebody freezes the universe. They just freeze the solar system. That moment in time, we're going to get a little heavy here because it gets a little heavy. That moment in time is you. So anybody else, even if you're a twin, that's really weird. That moment never occurs again. Even if you're a twin, there's some time between you. The moment has changed. And understanding twins is a whole different story. But anyhow, that moment is your moment. The universe is in the Rick DiClemente phase. It's in the Sean Hayes stage. And that moment is frozen in time. It's so complex to explain to somebody how it works. It's not physical, it's not geometric, it's not magnetic poles. It doesn't work that way. Suffice it to say that with quantum energy, the moment is unique. And a year later, when it returns, the moment is similar. And it's very unique in terms of the sun's position. That's why it's called the solar arc. So it appears in astrology that the sun goes around in one year and it returns on your birthday. And oftentimes your solar arc, your solar return is the day before, the day of, or the day after. It's going to be one of those three because it doesn't have anything to do with the calendar. In case you didn't know this, the Earth going around the sun or the sun going around the Earth is not a perfect circle. It's a little bit elliptical, and that's one of the reasons that the date comes off. So when that sun comes back to that position, you freeze frame everything. It's like taking a picture of a birthday cake. That moment is frozen, just like your birth chart, or your birth chart never changes. It's your main seed of all astrological reading. So we're going to get started. And when your sun comes back to the sun, that moment in time, you spend a lot of time looking at that chart on where the sun is, because this is all about the sun. This is seeing the chart through the eyes of the sun. You spend a lot of time with what planets are on what angles, because the angles are so important, that being the ascendant, descendant, midheaven, nadir. And you don't have to get real detailed with these. You're just looking for what's the flavor of these. What's the flavor? I won't be doing Claudia's tonight because I've been working with her privately, and she and I have already talked about it. So she and I have already looked at her solar return. We've talked about what's ahead for her next year, and she's born in August, so or July. So we know the feel for what's coming. So we're going to start with the first one that arrived today, which was Diane, and we're going to get her chart ready. It's a very simple matter using solar fire. Doing it by hand is a little more complicated, but we're going to look at Diane, and here's Diane's chart, and I'm going to ask the computer to do the return chart. And you're in what city, Diane?
Pittsburgh.
Okay. The solar return, no matter where you are, who you are, is calculated for the moment of your birthday. So if you take a trip to Hawaii this weekend, your solar return is going to be for Hawaii. You come back to Pittsburgh, it doesn't matter. Your solar return for the whole year is based upon the experience of where the planets were from Hawaii. Okay, so we're looking at Pittsburgh. I can never remember everybody's city. Okay. So here's Diane's chart. Let me get it on your screen. Okay, we're not going to take the time to refer to her birth chart, other than the fact that she's in Aries. So the only thing that's in common between this chart and her birth chart is the sun is a 2835 in both charts. Now, this is done for the latest April. We got to be careful here because it's going to flip soon over into April of 24, or it can go back to April of 22. So this solar return is correct. This is for the April that you just had. So this is a prediction of your life from your last April, and now we're in May, for the next 10 months. This is a snapshot of your next 10 months, focusing especially on the sun. And believe me, you know me, I'm outspoken. These are very accurate. Now, the first thing we look for is where's the sun? The sun is in the beginning of the 8th house. That's a very strong statement. We notice Mars is at the top of the chart. Very important because she's in Aries. This is her ruling planet. In this chart is ruled by Venus, because Venus rules Libra. So her Venus in this chart is in the 9th in Gemini. Her Mars, her traditional ruler, is up in the 10th, and her sun is in the 8th house. We don't see a lot of activity, and that doesn't mean anything. If they are active, it doesn't mean anything either. You just got to, it's just like all of astrology, you got to blend all these things together. Now, number one, without a doubt, The big deal in this chart is the sun is lined up with Eris all year. This is an Arisian year. I don't care if her sun's in the 8th house or it's in the outhouse. Her sun is next to Eris all year. Eris is a kick butt sign. So we can stop right there. This is on the 8th house, which is the house of my sense of self-worth, my sense of self-worth when I'm with other people. So I'll tell you right away what this means is you are not putting up with anymore. That's the heiress. We're going to solve this. We're not going to put up with this anymore. Very intense. What? We're not going to put up with any confusion about who I am when I'm with you. I'm not putting up with any more of you changing my story, you altering my story, you talking about my story. I don't even want to hear it. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. It's very intense, that feeling. That's Arisian. And that means that throughout time, Diane may have probably adjusted her sense of self-worth, which is not very Aryan, but for the benefit of others. She ain't doing it anymore. Not this year. Right or wrong. She got that look over there. She go, come on, get it out.
Well, yeah, I adjusted myself big time
Okay.
through a lot of my life.
Good. Okay, very good. And we don't want to talk forever, but can you see why this is central for next year?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, what this is saying is for my direction of me through the next year, it's critical that I solve this problem of how I deal with my sense of self-worth when I'm around other people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I'm moving out of therapist mode into me mode.
Okay. Very, very, very good. Okay. With the sun in the 8th house, the sun is very much, the 8th house is the house of, I know you are a therapist. The 8th house is a psychologist house. It's digging deep into stuff. It's looking behind stuff. So even though your chart is a little bit of a decoy, it looks rather simple. It's not simple with you got sun and Eris together in the 8th house. This means you're digging deep into what's really true and what's not true. This is true, that's not true. This is true, that's not true. Okay, separating the wheat from the chaff. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. And it's not so much a sense of being fed up. That's how it can manifest. It's more of a sense of, I want the damn truth. I just want the truth. I don't want to mess around with the stuff that's semi-true or isn't true. I need the damn stuff accurate. Make sense?
Yeah, to me, it feels like it's a breaking free.
Very good. Very, very good. And it should be, and that's exactly right. All right, let's go back to the chart. You don't have to look at much of the chart when you do these solar returns. Venus is in the 9th. It means you're going to be very open to new philosophies, understanding new ways that people gather information and data. Mars in the 10th house means you're not going to shy away from having to appear in front of your colleagues, having to own what you've said. You're going to be very proud of what you did, and you're going to stand forth and stand your ground. Okay? Doesn't mean anything arrogant or crazy. But what do we see here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets in Aries. And they're all in the 7th or 8th house with Neptune right here. Now we got big stories coming along now. Beside all I just said, you got 2 more big stories. You got 5 planets in Aries and you got Neptune. Well, with the 5 planets in Aries, that means that this is your counseling ability. And you notice when you see a counselor today, or you're around counseling type of people, I'm not going to say that they're real defensive, but I am going to say that you're very careful, and they've been forced to be. because of this thing called lawsuits. They've been forced to be very careful. Some of them videotape every reading they do, every session they have, and that makes sense. With all this in the seventh house, you're not worried about this year. You're not worried about it. That doesn't mean you're going to fly off the handle and become ignorant and abrasive and all that. But it does mean you're going to put more faith into just me. I know who I am. I'm going to say what I got to say. I'm not going to worry so much about where I'm coming from because I know where I'm coming from and I'm coming for what's best for my client. Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is very, very good. And the next thing, and I'm going to get away from this chart after this, because I don't like to touch on too many spots. I like to touch the major stuff. Now, you got Neptune sitting 26. You got the angle at 0. So Neptune is in Pisces right here, which means that you really, even though you're being assertive, you really want to introduce into your bag of tricks with your clients. You want to start talking about the unspoken. You want to start talking about their spiritual life. We're going to talk about it.
I already have.
Of course you have. Of course you have. See, solar returns are not just there. We could also do your solar return a year ago or the one next year. But you'll see that the solar return this year is similar to the one last year. Okay, so what is this telling me? Simple. Let's wrap this one up. You're going to continue in this year being yourself. You're not going to let any rules of the business come in and wrap you up and restrict you. You're not going to let other people wrap you up and restrict you in terms of how you should feel about yourself. You're done with this. You're really going through a lot of liberation, liberating yourself from all the stuff of your career. Yeah. So it makes perfect sense. Now, the thing that you need to be aware of is you are in Aries, and here you are playing with Neptune. You're very Aryan, which is all about the self is out there and it's real identical. And the Neptune is about the self is out there and it ain't real at all. It's an illusion. So you're going to need to work hard this year on blending the two. The Aries really is a self. The ego really is separate, but it's really not. Working out the two can be mixed. And I don't have to talk any more about it. I've talked about it a lot on this show. And the two can be blended. And in fact, the two really need each other. So I'm going to stop with you. And how does that sound?
Sounds great. Thank you. And it's right in line with what I see, which is I'm only going to continue working with clients who are really doing the work.
That's right. Not the ones talking, the ones working.
And I've been bringing in spirituality more and more. I have a sense that I may move into some other variation, not therapy per se, but more of a spiritual counseling. Not
well, there's every indication is there, yes. So your 8th house explorations this year, which are explorations into shamanism, etc., they're all called for. Yes, keep on doing it. You're right on track. So this is what I want to hear from people is you should be finding that these solar returns are very accurate. Thank you very much, Diane.
Thank you, Rick.
Yes, you are welcome. I'm going to Rachel. Hello, Rachel.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Let me get you on the screen here. And I'm going to do real hard, making sure I don't cut off everybody. Well, I've already messed it up, so we'll stop. Okay, we're back now with Rachel's chart. Okay, here's Rachel's chart. It's not the birth chart. This is the solar return. Ooh. Let me get it on your screen. This is the solar return for a recent birthday, which was January 21st of this year. Now, her birthday may, in fact, be one day off. This doesn't matter. This is not her birth chart. This is the sun back at the same spot. And you'll notice that the sun is arriving back at the same spot, almost identical with a solar return or the new moon. So 4 degrees, 5 degrees, 10 hours later, she would have had a new moon. 10 hours after this, she would have had a new moon with the sun and moon both at 1 or 2 degrees Aquarius, but she didn't. This is exact. This is precise. Okay. This is the sun next to Pluto, which is in another sign. So that very sensitive degree that we're all talking about, hey, man, Pluto's going into Aquarius is right there. Okay, that cusp. So that's a big deal. So the sun, Pluto, moon is a big deal in this chart. We see a Saturn, Capricorn is rising. The chart is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is next to Venus. Okay, we see Uranus is on another angle. Uranus is on her nadir. And see this great big blank spot gives you that false image that nothing's happening. No, you don't do that. Okay, lots happening. You just got to look at it a little closer. Okay, the Jupiter Neptune's kind of wide apart. So this is an indication of Saturn Venus. She's born with a very heavy Saturn moon anyway. Saturn Venus means that you're being very careful with people. You're being very careful. You may be considering new relationships, but frankly, it just seems like Aquarians prefer friendship. They just kind of prefer friendships rather than relationships. There's no judgment here. It's just that they're really darn good with relationships, and relationships provide them with a lot of freedom, which they love. So with relationships, it can be tougher, but friendships, they're usually higher on. I'm not going to predict relationship or friendship. That's up to you. But we can see where's your focus this year. First house. Sun, moon, Pluto, Venus, Saturn. When the focus is on the first house, and this is not a stranger to Aquarian ideas, the first house is, I got to get myself straight. That's what it means. It doesn't mean anything but that. It doesn't mean I'm going to ignore you. It doesn't mean I'm not interested, but I've got to get myself straight. How do I see the world? What am I doing for weightlifting? What am I doing for bicycling? What am I doing for exercise and diet? First house, getting myself physically lean. First house, a big deal. Now you throw into it, the moon is here, Pluto is here, and so is Venus. So when you got such heavyweight stuff in the first house, it means I'm going to get myself straight, but with the moon and Venus especially, I've also got to include, I can't just keep going to Aquarian land, which is mind, Aquarian land, thinking, Aquarian land. What are the ideas? Aquarian land. How do the philosophies fit? Because your moon and Venus don't want to hear it. Your moon and Venus want to know, how am I feeling? Does somebody love me? Can I love somebody? How am I feeling? So this first house pressure on you for the next year is valid and true, but you're including your emotional, Rachel. Tell me how you're reacting to this.
How I'm reacting to it is, I think that the Venus is softening my Saturn, like as far as how I relate with other people. It's like I'm not being as stern or dogmatic. I mean, I'm trying to bring some charm to the situation.
Yeah, it's Venus, yes. Right.
And that's and it's interesting that Saturn is in my first house in the solar return, because it's also in the first house of my natal chart, right? So it's yeah, I mean it's being softer. It's being more, I don't know, a little more generous, a little more thoughtful about what I say instead of just being Aquarian minded and saying
Spark,
my speech.
spark like, spark
Mhm.
like. Okay,
Yep.
spark is all rational. I'm
Yep.
going to caution.
Yep.
I'm going to caution you here about one thing. Your Venus, I don't think, is as powerful as you're portraying it to be. Okay, Venus next to Saturn isn't. Venus isn't next to Saturn. Saturn's next to Venus. Okay, a big deal. But I do agree with you. Venus is changing things. It will soften things. The moon will soften things too. Yes. Um, but the more important thing is, why are all these planets in the first house? Why? You must feel that it is time for me to put the government and my friends and art on another shelf, me to worry about me this year. I got to get myself straight. That's not a selfish thing. I got to get myself straight.
This is the first year that I've been done with my deceased parents' tax records. So you are absolutely right. I can now focus on me. I don't have to
Did
worry
you
about their
say,
stuff
did you
anymore.
say tax records?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So you're done as the
Their
executive.
estate. Yes.
Okay, very
Yep.
good, very good. So this is all about how do you want to live? And I'm not going to do it just by Aquarian rational thought, because it will screw you, like all the signs. All signs think they know the best and they don't. And it will screw you. It will lie to you. If you stay Aquarian Spock like intellectual, you'll always be okay. And you will not. Because when it really comes down to it, your chart really comes down in a lot of ways to the moon and Venus. Because they don't really know a lot about logic, but they can tell you how they feel. Right, Rick? You got me? Rachel?
Yes. Yeah.
There's nothing else to say.
All right.
There's nothing else to say to you
Thank you.
because I would be getting you bent out of shape and bending you towards other things that are really far secondary. You're on the right track. Okay.
That's interesting. Okay. Thank you again.
Okay. That's interesting. It's not interesting. What is it?
Um, you're hinting at like secondary things going on here, but
You
I
said this
don't
whole
want.
thing was interesting. And I'm
Yeah.
suggesting to you that that's not the word for it, that it really is what?
Right now it's kind of gutting, but
Yeah. So how do
it's
you go from gutting to interesting? Okay, what interesting means to me is we're really talking about being accurate here, but I don't want to talk about it any further. That's what interesting means to me. Okay, what I'm telling you is you're right on track. And I think this is very good. This is very, very good because it sounds to me like all the stuff you've been doing is coming to a point. And what I'm real interested in looking at is your solar return of next year. I want to see what you get into next year because then this year it's getting you staged, it's getting you ready.
prime in the pump. Yeah.
I'm in the pump. Exactly. I think it's going to be very good. Thank you very much, Rachel.
Thank you so much, Rick.
Okay, honey. All right, let's go on to the next person on the list, which happens to be Mr. John H. You ready for me, John H? I guess that means he is.
I unmuted myself. Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. And you are in Pittsburgh?
I am in Pittsburgh.
I gotta be careful. Now let's talk about that for a moment. Since the birthday is experience, wherever you are during your birthday. I have clients that will call me, where do I need to be on my birthday? I have rich clients that will say, well, if I'm home in Pittsburgh, what will my chart promise for the next year? Okay, what if I fly to South Vietnam for 2 days before my birthday, 2 days off after? Okay, it'll be like this, because your latitude and longitude change. And it's like a birth chart, your solar return chart changes. And I actually have people that, oh, no, I'll be in Hawaii those days. I'll be in Hawaii 2 days before my birthday, 2 days after, because it optimizes my chart. And then I'll come home for the rest of the year. Okay, that's why the place is important. That's not silly. That's a very common occurrence with rich astrology clients. It is true. Such as Susan, because she just takes her Winnebago and just goes all over the country. And she just draws maps and cartoons and pets and mugs and t-shirts, and she just goes, she's the Sagittarian of the group. Look at this now. Here comes the next one. There's a kid. What is a bike? Oh, it's a fire. With the camper sitting by the fire. Excellent work. Very good. Okay, Mr. John H.
You said all that. No, I was really born in Carnegie, PA.
I don't care where you were born at the moment. I could care about where you are now. Carnegie will change the birth chart a tiny bit, but we're not going to get into this now. Okay, this is John's solar return. This is John in May 27th that we've not experienced yet.
It's May 28th is my
It
birthday.
is not your solar return. I told you, it doesn't do it by time.
Oh,
The sun is at the same place. It just happens to be lined up with your sun on May 27th. Notice the time. It's 11:51 at night. See? So it's almost the next day. So that's why it doesn't matter. This chart is accurate. This is a map of when the sun came back to the sun, and it's done itself 70 times. It's coming back 70 times in your lifetime, or however old you are. Now, right away, what do we see? The sun is in the fourth, but what do we see? Pluto's opposite Venus, Mars. You got two planets right across the ascendant. Pluto opposite Venus, Mars. And the T-square, which is 0 and 4 and 21, goes to around 0. So the T-square goes to Mercury. So what this says very clearly, this year, I'm going to tell you exactly what this means. And I'm glad you got this on videotape so you can watch it. This year, I am going to get myself straightened out emotionally by straightening out all my rules for how I deal with all relationships. And we've been talking this theme about 3 years with you. Again, here comes that subject. We're going to straighten out how I deal with all my relationships. And the T-square goes to Jupiter in Taurus in the third house. So what this really means is for me to straighten out my life and straighten it out emotionally, I first have to investigate what are my rules about relationships. There's a whole story. What rules do I keep following because I put them there, grandpa put them there, grandma put them there, church put them there, whatever. But I'm not saying your rules are wrong. I'm just saying they're up for examination. Now, if you're finding that your relationships, and I mean with everybody, with dogs and frogs and people, your relationships with everybody, if they're not to your satisfaction, now this is time to change them. And you change them via altering what concepts you've been holding on to. Does this make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, yes.
Okay, Now, every time I've said this to you, and it's probably 15 times, you have said to me, it makes a lot of sense. Okay. It's exactly what you have said. What does that mean?
It means that I'm really discovering myself,
Okay.
and I almost know what those rules are.
Okay, but you're investigating them.
I'm investigating. Well, I'm discovering them.
You're discovering them, and is it fair to say that this is the time and the time is right for you to do that?
Actually, I'm owning them.
Okay. Is it also fair to say to you that the universe is mysteriously sending your friends and sending books and sending movies and sending concepts? It's sending messages to you from all around you that assist in this process.
Yes,
Okay. That's how this works.
I get that.
There's nothing else to say.
Okay, I got it.
Nothing else to say. Because the time is right. It doesn't mean throw this person out of your life. It doesn't mean throw this person into your life. It doesn't mean any of that. But it means get serious about the moves that you make. In other words, the next chess moves that you make, they're really serious moves. It's not a time to play checkers. That's what this means. And what does that mean? It means that for me, and I know you, you're getting older, you're a poet, you're a spiritual man. I know you. For me to really start achieving my posture for the step you're going to be taking when you leave here, for me to be taking my big spiritual step, I've got to get myself straightened out with all my relationships so that they are in line with what I really think in my heart. Not to please anybody else.
You know, it's one thing to say, I know this, but I can't articulate it.
I understand. I understand. But just the fact that you're in this vicinity and you're this comfortable with what I've been saying is a very good sign. So you're right on track.
Thank you.
You saw how major this is. We see it, Claudia. We see it by the Venus, Mars across the ascendant with Pluto. That means he's not fooling around. Whenever Pluto's involved in your chart, it means you're not fooling around. It means you mean business. Right? Mr. Gaudy will see you now. That's what it means. Okay. Anita.
Thank you.
Oh, Juanita. I call your name.
Hello there.
Did you think that Donovan was talking about you?
Yes.
Oh, Juanita, I call your name. Oh, you poor young people. If you've not discovered in the old days, go listen to some old records by Donovan. He will
Yeah, you
blow you away. He was so far ahead of his time, just so major. As a matter of fact, people argue with me, but I think that if they ever needed a fifth Beatle, it would have been him.
Oh,
Because he's just remarkably inventive, and he was so far ahead of his time. And he sang a song about Juanita. Okay, Anita, we're going to go to your chart
okay.
and let's see what we got here. I know you just got back from the islands.
Yes, I did.
Okay, here's Anita, and we're going to go on return chart. And we're going to go to Morgantown. There's my doll baby, the black cat. Okay, there's your chart. Okay. Now we got to get it simply on your screen. But do you see, everybody, what I was
Rick, that Rick,
Yeah.
that's in Morgantown, PA.
I'll get that changed.
Oh, I didn't know if the PA what that meant. Okay.
No, it was a mistake.
Okay.
But I thought of something first. That's what I wanted to say. Do you see what's happening? What I told you, we're finding out when did the sun return to that spot. We're doing a map of that whole chart. And that chart bespeaks of us in our next year. I don't know how. It's amazing, but they're really powerful. And I'll tell you another story. This is really a fantastic story I was telling Diane before we started. Sometimes when I'm doing a reading, I don't know where to start. Sometimes a person's so complex and the chart's so complex that I got to start somewhere. And sometimes I just don't get it from the birth chart and I don't get it from my little hellos. Sometimes I'll start with the person's solar return. And I'll say, well, I see in your next year, you're focusing on this, and that'll give me like a conversation starter. So that can be very helpful. Thank you, Miss Anita. Let's go back, get your city right.
Yeah, it's the state.
Yeah, this is incorrect. Okay, Anita M. And we want to go to solar return, and we want to go to West Virginia. There. All right. Okay, here's your chart, Anita, and you won't be surprised, guaranteed. Do you see how the chart is shifting? Okay. Okay, notice. We're not talking about your sun. You are Cancer once again. Sun is in the 10th house. Now, I'll tell you this from right off. Cancers are really much better off when their sun is in the 10th house. Says cancers can be very sensitive and they can be pushed around in life by the winds of life, the rough winds of life. But when their sun's in the 10th house, 9th house, they're very strong. Very strong people. It means they're not fooling around. And Cancer has a part of themselves which ain't fooling around. So if you're near her, you should know this. She ain't fooling around. Okay, she got Venus and Mars and Leo. So she's going to be very creative this year. Okay, she always has been. Very creative. The moon is in Aquarius. We have Neptune on the descendant. We have the sun in the 10th house, square to Eris and Chiron. So this is telling me that she's going forward in this life this year. She's putting her foot down and she's moving forward, and there ain't no stopping her. This is like a double, triple gas pedal. Okay, green light, we're going. Because cancers can be full of, well, let's be careful. Well, let's be careful. Let's be cautious. No. Not this year. Not with Venus and Mars and Leo. Not with this squared to Eris and Chiron. Not with Pluto trying to Mercury. She's not being cautious this year. She's at it with being cautious. She's being cautious. It's not the year for it. Okay. But it is a year for you to make your position in the world. This does not mean your position in the family. This does not mean your position in Morgantown. I know you've done a lot of things at different levels. This means your position everywhere. So what, and with Neptune involved here, I really like this. Neptune is trying to that sun. This means that I am taking my position in the world this year, and I'm not going to put my spirituality second. I'm not going to do it. So me and my spirituality are claiming these two flags in the earth. So what are you doing this year coming ahead?
Oh, well, I launched a product today that I've been working on for quite some time. So that was exciting. That was it took a while, for me to bring it to fruition. So today was the day. And so yeah,
Wonderful.
we'll see where that goes. But
Wonderful.
The trip to Belize made such a huge impact that I am considering whether or not this is where I should be, whether or not I should make.
To relocate?
Yeah.
Well, when you're under a Neptune transit, it's a very major symbol that you live near water, and here you are, you were in the water.
Oh,
This is a major statement that you are on the right track.
well, I certainly felt at home in the water. When I was snorkeling, and diving, I felt so at home. I hadn't felt that way in a really, really long time. I had a flashback of that today when I was out driving, and what would it be like if I were surrounded by water right now? And it all came back to me again, that feeling.
Well, I think this is marvelous. This is a validation of you staking your claim. You see, the reason this is so important, how do I say this? Throughout a cancer's life, cancers base their life upon being bolstered by their family. Almost all of them. And this is a statement of, no, I'm not doing that. I am not my family. Ooh, that's a big statement for cancers. I am not my family. Nothing pro or against the family, but that's not who I am. When you're young, it is.
Mhm,
Young, it is.
mhm.
But now, as I've discovered my spiritual side, I'm very creative. This is a wonderful statement. The Belize, we can look it up someday by doing a relocality map on you. It's to see
Okay.
see how you shine when you're in that part of the world. But more importantly, the Belize is secondary. The shifting to Anita's spiritual favor is primary.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I feel it, Rick. I
That's
really do.
that's
Yeah. Mhm.
this
It
is
is that
very
simple.
good, Anita.
Thank you.
You are
Yeah,
welcome.
big deep breath, big sigh, and then I feel like I've been revving my engine, and I'm ready to put it in drive.
Well, the thing I like about this, here's the most, and I'm not going to BS you. The thing I like about this is a major symbol that you're trusting spirit. You cannot make a move like this as Anita. You must make the move as trusting spirit. The spirit's the one that set all this up and is guiding you. And if you look at your recent trip, you'll see all kind of spiritual, magical things happen to make this event come about with your old high school friend, right?
Right, right.
Okay, this is a wonderful sign. How's
Mhm.
it sound to you?
Sounds perfect. It
Okay,
really does.
good.
Mhm.
I'm going to move along. Thank you.
Okay,
That was wonderful. Very good.
thank you.
You're welcome. Good news.
Rick, you're muted. Can you? Okay.
I said, Marcia, bud, what you doing up in Jersey? Huh? We went to WVU. Every other person was from Jersey or
That's right.
or from Pittsburgh. Okay, let's get Marcia here. Let's get you are in you were born in Boston. And the city you're in right now is
T-neck,
Teaneck.
like T,
Yeah,
T-A,
I've
neck.
been there. I've been there. The Teaneck Parkway. Okay, New Jersey. Here she is. Huh. Did chart shift? Yeah.
It did.
Okay.
It did.
Okay. There you are. Notice that the chart is calculating that this is your December 29th. You're closer to your last birthday than your next. Now we could calculate this for next December, but this chart is the chart you're in.
Right.
So this is the January, February, March, April so far until next year. And see how so many of us are getting these big blank things? That's
Yeah.
because the planets are traveling like that. And that's one reason that 2023 has been so moody. Because as the moon travels through here every 2 weeks, the moon travels through here by itself. Then, because 2 weeks later comes back around itself, the moon is the main planet. And that's why you've seen so much moodiness with everybody around you. Okay, now look at Marcia Bud following Anita in her trails. Okay, and 10th house sun doesn't mean that you're really concentrating on your new career, but it does mean that you're trying to get the career Marcia in shape the way you want her. That's what that means. The worldly you. This very nice Chiron, Moon, Jupiter, Neptune in the first house. This is a very nice symbol. What this means to me is I am a very, very nice, rich, spiritual person. But for too long, I've been adjusting who that nice spiritual person is to keep other people happy. Because I really like it when other people are happy. I'm not dependent on it, but I really prefer them to be happy. And a lot of times when I have to be myself, it makes other people have to adjust a little bit, and it may not possibly be happy. This chart doesn't care anymore. You hear that, cat?
She agreed. She agreed.
Yeah, I told you so.
She did.
She did. That's what this means. And it means you're soft-hearted, etc. And it means very much, this is a validation, that you can continue down the road of self-development and get rid of any ideas that you have that it's not spiritual to work on yourself, that it's selfish. It's not selfish. It's not selfish. It's what you need to do. And there's a very clear message going on in all the charts now that a lot of these people around you need to face up to their own music. That's what it means. That's happening everywhere. Does it make sense to you?
Oh, totally. Yes.
Now, with the work that you're doing, studying, with your background in massage and your background in the theater, you're so varied, you could end up in many different places, but that's not what this year's about. This year is not about finding your place in the world. This year is about finding your place in the world as a person. Next year is when we're going to look at where you're going to apply your trade.
Oh.
Because it's dependent on this year. That makes sense?
Total. It's like climbing a ladder.
And all your work with your medicine and with theater and with massage and all that stuff, all your work has not been wasted. It's all coming to play when even your astrology. It's all blending to support you. So I don't know what it will mean next year, and I don't want to get tempted to look at next year for people because it opens up a whole nother can of worms. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah, a lot.
But the big thing here is you're very soft-hearted, and it's your nature to not say no. And you've been watching me on this show the past 3 months, how much I've been enjoying going, no. Oh, Claudia, no. And I'm enjoying hearing the rattles go when I go like that way, So I think that's very much for you too. And it's not just you. This is happening nationwide. And you're going to start hearing a different Rick here soon. The USA is in big trouble.
Oh,
The USA is on the verge of becoming a fascism.
yeah.
We have to stop it. We have to start saying that it's true. We have to start fighting it. And that means a lot of things, doesn't it?
Mhm.
And it's really good that we have each other. It's really good that we have each other.
That's so true, Rick.
Yeah, well, we're on the right track. We're on the right track in this fascist movement that's going on and destroying libraries and stuff is not the right track. Okay, thank you, Marcia.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick.
You are, dear. Let's go with our brand new person, Sharon Rose. Let's get you unmuted. Hello, Sharon. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I don't know your chart. Okay, you got Pluto, Uranus, opposite Saturn, Moon in Pisces. All right, let's go and do your return chart for what city?
Toronto.
Toronto. Okay. And let's get you on the screen. Is everybody enjoying this or are they awake?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
We're awake.
Okay, Sharon. Sharon, you are a Gemini with the moon in Scorpio, which is very nice combination. It's very rare. I like it. And Scorpio rising. Oh, this is not your birth chart. This is the return chart, right? Okay. In the return chart, we see a massive amount of education going on now. This is for June coming up, your birthday coming up. We see Venus and Mars opposite Pluto. This is a tremendous amount of learning and education. And that's what Geminis are all about. They want to keep learning stuff, more stuff. And the T-square is going to Jupiter. Okay, and Jupiter in Taurus in the sixth house means very clearly that you're learning all this stuff because you want to start applying it. You want to come back and serve people and apply all this knowledge. And Geminis aren't about applying knowledge. Geminis are about attaining it, getting it. Okay, and that's why they get overwhelmed with babbling about stuff and get scattered. Not this chart. This chart is I want to put it to use. It could even be physical, such as ground, working with the earth, environment. It could be very much that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Talk to me. What's going on?
I'm just actually have been recovering from a bout of sciatica, of back problems that are kind of new for me. And I've learned so much in the last year. I've been applying it to my own health, but I can see just learning about my community, all these different opportunities that things I've learned in the past could be used. I didn't realize before.
I'm going to have to make an exception. When did the back problem start?
About Christmas time. Over the Christmas holidays. So
Now, hold on,
like-
please. Oh boy. Okay, the birth chart is really critical here from the story you're telling. Sun at the midheaven, 3 planets in Taurus, opposite Neptune. Look at this humongous statement. Saturn, Pluto, Uranus, Moon across the ascendant. Okay, I don't know how much longer you think you can keep carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. This is not a Gemini function, but that's all you've been doing your whole life. Putting the weight of the world on your shoulders. This is not from your parents. This is not from your church. This is from your past life chart. I don't know why. We'll dig into that sometime. But now that you've been carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, you've discovered that you can't move.
Right.
Okay. And now what you're doing is taking this knowledge that you've been gathering, all these mobile libraries that you got parked out back, and you're starting to open up the doors and look at it like, well, what's the use of having all this stuff if it's not helping me move or helping me with the environment? So, so somehow that came to a peak when you hurt your back. Okay. What month did you hurt your back?
In December, it sort of accumulated over the fall.
Approximately.
October had a little bit, and then December it just
Okay.
crashed.
What happened to you in October and December? What happened to
Death
you
death in
emotionally?
the family. There was
Huh?
a death. There have been
Okay.
several deaths,
Okay,
and
there was a death in the
Yeah.
family. What did that mean to you personally?
felt like I lost a support. Who
Okay.
had been
You
loving
lost the
support.
support of that person. Okay, that's what the lower back is about. It's about supporting the frame. Okay. And then you learn finally that you're going to have, okay, in my opinion, and you can argue with me, but this is what I've been observing, and you can think about this if you want. People leave us when they know we're okay. People leave us when they know we're okay. And you know we can handle things. It may not seem like it, and you may really miss them, but they have wisdom in their soul, and they know that we're going to be okay. So now it is, you're going to be healing yourself. I'm not worried about you at all physically. But now you're going to start applying all this knowledge to the earth. What does that mean?
Restore a property that I have around me that needs restoration and hasn't been
Okay.
properly cared for.
Okay. And when you do that, is that going to be kind of like repairing your past? Is
Yeah.
that going to be kind of like repairing the foundation upon which you stand? Is your story. You're on the right track. That's what it's all about. You got a lot of Taurus in you. So your chart is a lot about foundation, getting fixed, getting affixed to the land, getting affirmed to my position, and my relationship with the land isn't what other people think. And I got to get that whole thing straightened out. And it's got nothing to do with the land. It's got everything to do with your past. The past you, the tribes you belong to, the spiritual churches that you belong to, whatever. That whole thing is getting repositioned now. So you're going through a brand new, are you going through a major revolution?
Yeah.
Spiritually.
Yes, well, spiritually, Canada isn't immune to some of the things you were talking about a few minutes ago, actually. Some of that control stuff that you were alluding to about the United States is here too. And that's changed me a lot. That's changed my mind and my attitudes. And you're right, there is a need to stand up. And that's been coming a little wave, bigger wave, bigger wave, bigger wave.
So what I see with you is you're about to dive in this hole with this big shovel, and you're just diving. You don't even care how you land. You're diving with this shovel. What is the work ahead of you?
I see community, it's interesting, communities, opportunities to speak out are showing up a little bit.
Speak out about what?
Things we need to be changing in our healthcare, that we're being kind of naive.
Well, I think you're absolutely on the right track.
Thank you.
Just absolutely. Absolutely. You're on the right track. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Mr. Sean. Mr. Sean behind that plant there. Hide behind that tree. Mr. Sean, let's go look at you. Are we still recording? Let's go and check. Yes, we are. Okay. Let's go to Mr. Sean. Sean, and we do a return chart. And we're having fun tonight. And what city are you in?
Hillsborough, New Jersey.
Okay, here we go. Let's take a look at that chart. Saturn, Mercury, Sun, Neptune. All in Pisces, all at the top. Jupiter, Chiron, Venus, Eris in the 11th and the 12th house. The moon is all by itself in the 5th house. The moon is opposite Neptune. It's T-squared to Mars. This is a very strange message. Saturn is squaring the ascendant. The sun is in the 11th. What kind of job have you been working?
Walmart, FedEx.
Okay. Lillian, what are you looking at? Lillian, what are you working at? What do you have any plans? Are you trying to get united with a group of people that you're getting into group efforts?
I could see that being a possibility. Yeah.
Yeah, but tell me more about it. What's it like? What's it about? What's it for?
I'm in a little Yogananda Paramahansa, Yogananda, meditation thing.
Right.
So I'm in that in a little
So
branch of
you're in
theirs.
his group with his
A
literature?
branch. Yeah, a certain
Okay.
branch of
All right.
theirs in New Jersey. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Fellowship for Spiritual Enlightenment, whatever it's called.
Right.
Yeah, I was in that years ago. He's out of California, LA.
Yeah.
Okay, I see very major movement with you this year. Now, you are confused about going in a direction. See, everything in this chart is facing Mars and Gemini. And that means I'm going down both roads at the same time. You need to go left and you need to go right. No, I'm going both. No. You need to go one or the other. No, I'm going down both. What does that mean?
You're asking me exactly what you said,
I want to know what that
You
particular image means.
doing I do everything at the same time. That's what I got from that, If I don't stick to one thing.
When I talk about the two directions in front of you,
Mhm.
what
Okay.
are the two directions?
Okay, the two directions are just going, I don't know. It's not, I don't really just going directly spiritual, or just dibbling and dabbling with the past and the future or the present, like knowing what's right or just being comfortable is where I'm at, just doing the
No,
right
I
thing,
know
going
I do
all out.
not. No, I do not know what you mean. You said on one
Okay.
road was a spiritual path. You're not making
Yeah.
clear what the other road is.
Because it's either the spiritual path
Or
or just pretty much living in the world, and
okay,
still flirting with that because
how can any path be non-spiritual?
no path is non-spiritual. Just being like an extremist.
Exactly. It's not
Yeah.
possible. So
Right.
what I'm saying to you is, for some reason, you've been fighting over left and right for a long time because it's useful.
Mm.
You've been fighting over left and right, and what that's allowed you is paralysis.
Mm.
It's allowed you to be paralyzed. I don't have to go anywhere. What the chart's saying is either way you go is fine. But I don't think you want to hear that. Either way you go is fine, but I don't think you want to hear that, because that's where I see you at that turning point now, because you need to just pick one and go. I think picking one and going scares you.
Right, because of maybe not knowing which one is right and thinking you're taking a chance.
Because you
trusting
got
it.
the illusion in your mind. This is
Mhm.
this is the Capricorn illusion, everybody. And it's in his chart, even though he's Piscean. The Capricorn illusion is if I go left and I go all the way to the left, then I'm getting further to the right. I'm getting further from the right. And what if I get all the way to the end? Then I got to turn around and go down the right. So therefore, continuing down to the left is getting closer to your goal, no matter what you do, no
Mm.
matter which road is right. So it's more important that you go just start going. Just
Right.
start going. Another thing that's very Capricornian is you're going up the steps and you're on step 5 and you're on step 7, and a part of you freezes because I want to know if step 98 is there. I want to know if step 97 is there, or I'm not going anywhere. And it's another reason to get paralyzed. Instead of just keep going, you get to step 50, 51 is gone, 55 is gone. Oops, then you got to go back down. But just staying put down here doesn't work, except it serves paralysis. It gives us an excuse for not moving. And there are times when the excuse will start killing you.
Got it. Got it.
That's where you are. Okay,
Mhm.
so the two real, what I'm saying is you need to find a way to go down both paths and start to see that they're both not really different. They're not really different. They both can be harmonized. You can go down both at the same time. They seem like they're two different roads, but they're not. Now, how can you accomplish that?
Just going with the flow of life. Mhm.
And when you go with the flow of life, you are maximizing what spirit can do for you anyway, correct?
Correct.
I mean, I'm no guru, but just seems to me common sense. Okay, so let's go back to your chart. Let's go back to your chart and let's see what is in store for you. Okay, you got a real strong spiritual need. You really need to do the Mars and Gemini thing. And what is standing out in this chart? Out of all these planets, what is standing out?
Moon.
The moon. The moon in Libra. And the moon is opposite Neptune. Okay? All right. That's a major spiritual symbol. All right. When your moon is the main planet in your chart, what is it telling you, Sean?
Something internal, something I'm processing deeply internally.
That's
I'm
true.
guessing
That's
that
true.
connects directly to my essence.
That's true. Yeah.
Mm.
What the chart's telling me is quit thinking about this and do what you feel. But what you're doing, what you feel, scares the hell out of you. And the reason it scares the hell out of you is it scares the hell out of everybody. It just scares people. And once you get down the emotional road for a while, you'll gain trust. That's called flow. Flow builds confidence. You got to stop the statue and get flowing. That makes sense?
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. Gotcha. Mhm.
Your heart knows where to go, does it not?
Definitely.
And
But
where
does the Piscean really want to go anywhere, or they just want to flow? That's what I'm
Pisces is
thinking. What do you think?
it's a very difficult subject. Very difficult subject. Pisces wants to do the latter, which is just go with the flow, but you have to provide Pisces with some kind of structure or it gets listless. It just goes fading out into the clouds and it just becomes backboneless and is tempted towards alcohol and it's tempted towards escape. You cannot allow
Yeah.
the Pisces, you cannot allow the Pisces to be the boss.
Hmm.
You have to make him the boss. No, you have to allow him to be the boss because he is the boss.
Mm-hmm.
Allow him to be the boss. And like I told you before, Pisces is blessed with two things, faith and belief. Those are two major gifts. I got faith in what he's saying. I got the faith that he's going to direct me. He's got my back. Is that true or not?
It's true.
So then what's the problem?
No problem.
Right. As a matter of fact, I think you're about to become hell on wheels. Which means we need teachers. What do you think is going to stop us from this upcoming fascism? We need teachers. We need people inspiring us, saying, don't listen to these idiots. Go this way. This is the right way. You know it. And you need to be one of those teachers.
Definitely.
Rick will agree with you because Rick is one of those. Okay, Sean?
Thank you, sir.
The secret to your chart is seeing what seems to be a dual direction is really not dual. In other words, keep developing mentally. That's okay. But you can follow your heart at the same time that you're developing emotionally. Okay, another thing I think this is really important. And I say it a lot, and I mean it. Don't listen to anybody.
That's the
Nobody.
first thing came in my mind when I came on the show.
John, Rick, none of us. Nobody.
Mhm.
The president, the past president. Don't listen to any of you. You know what the hell you're doing. You got the Pisces intuition. You got the best compass that you could have.
I believe that. I feel like that.
Read our book a second time.
Yeah.
Because that
All
book
right.
really explains what a Pisces is. And that's not an easy subject. Okay?
Got it.
Thank you. Good luck, Mr. Sean. I got time for one more, and that would be Erica. Miss Erica. I didn't say Miss America. I said Miss Erica.
But Erica is in America, only with a K,
Are you in San Francisco?
approximately. Yeah,
That's good enough.
right next door.
I was studying today about Marin County.
Marin County. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where I live.
I spelling this right? Francisco, San Fran. Did I spell that right?
You need a C instead of a S in the first part. Why don't you try Fairfax, which is where I actually live?
Oh, Fairfax.
Good.
I just had my birthday too.
Happy birthday to you. April
Thank
27th. You just had it. Okay. Okay, here we go with the final chart of the evening. Now, if I didn't get to you, I'm sorry, but I told you I'm going to do what I can. Now, okay, Erica, the Taurus.
The day before my birthday was my solar return. Yep.
It was April 27th at 5:55 in the afternoon. Okay,
Yep.
you got a T-square to the sun, Pluto at 0, Moon at 9, Sun at 7. All right, this is very good. You got a Pluto Moon T-square to the sun. You got Pluto touching your sun and your moon. While Mars is at the midheaven in Cancer. These planets are nicely spaced out. You get a big bucket with no handle. A lot of 7th house, a lot of 8th house. Are you thinking about doing any type of counseling?
I do a type of counseling. I work with people with special needs and dual diagnosis and, community mental health work. But
Okay, what is dual
I'm
diagnosis?
shifting. that means that you can have more than one issue with your mental health.
And you're shifting to what?
Well, I've been working, they put me more with people that were disabled, even though I came in wanting to work more with people's behavioral health. So I've been pushing for getting more behavioral health clients because I need to move around more. The people that I work with that are disabled, I can't really move around physically. They don't really want to go anywhere or do anything. So it's affecting me physically that I can't move around.
So they've got you stuck and you want to actually physically be able to move around more.
I want to have other clients where instead of being in one place for 6 hours, I'll see someone for 2 hours, somebody else for an
Okay.
hour and a half.
Okay,
But
very good.
they're so much in need of people
All
that
right.
they don't want to let me go.
Well, that sounds very much to me like Uranus going through Taurus. I mean,
Well, I gave them an ultimatum.
whenever is Taurus going to get up and move, except for when Uranus comes through. And Uranus it's now at 18 degrees,
Yeah,
right? So it's been going
yeah,
through
it's
Taurus for
been,
quite a while.
it has. Yeah, I've been pushing, but now I finally had to stop being nice and give an ultimatum and say,
That's
say
right.
in July, when I get
Okay.
back from my trip,
That's your
I'm
Mars.
no longer going to work with that person on that day. I want like 2 or 3 other clients on that day instead.
That's your Mars on the midheaven asserting itself. That's a very good deal. And you got very heavy stuff here. Moon, Pluto, Sun. What that means is when you make these demands, they're not going to hear you as whining. If they hear you as whining, they're going to say no. What they mean is they hear it in your heart. They hear that it's essential to you. You care about it. And that's why you'll be victorious. That make sense?
Yeah, and I'm not abandoning my major person. I'll still see him one day a week because he needs the stability of having a regular person. Really friends. So the staff is like their friends, and some of them don't even have family anymore. So it's so important for them not to have a huge turnover and staff all the time.
Well, I
It's
think you're
been
on the right
difficult.
track. You're on the right track, and that Mars at the top of the chart is really smart. It's really strong. It means you're going to assert yourself. And as I recall, you got a very powerful Neptune. You got a very powerful Neptune in your natal chart that wants
In the first house, yeah.
that wants to tell you that you're being too aggressive and don't listen to it.
Well, to blend too much.
Yeah.
To blend
Okay, sometimes
to
you can blend, that's right. But this ain't one of those times. This is the time to be assertive because you're exactly right. Okay?
and if I'm not going to do it now, when the hell else am I going to do it? I just turned 76. If I don't get to do what I want to do now, I'll run out of time,
Well, I think we should all applaud for Erica.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks for the moral
everybody.
support.
It's been very good. Thank you. I accomplished what I wanted to. I hope that you learned, but you got to see what a return chart does. And if you're floating through the years and you're not getting your return charts done, get them done. Take a good look at them, print them out, get the one from last year and next year, and they're amazing things. And there's even more to them. But I think we saw tonight, everyone was accurate. So, hooray for you. I don't know what's next week. We'll find out then. Have a good
Thank you,
weekend,
Rick.
everybody.
Everybody
Thanks,
have a
Rick.
great weekend.
Thanks,
Happy
everybody.
Mother's Day.
Thank you.
Is that what it
Happy
is?
Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Bye,
Even
Kitty.
to the